everyone, how's it going? AZREN here. Hope you guys are doing well. In this video, I want to talk about accents, and more specifically, I want to talk about if your accent can actually change in a language. Now, when it comes to your first language, generally speaking, your accent is not really going to change. The accent you have is the accent you have, unless you've traveled around. So for example, let's say you spent the first 6 years of your life in England, but then you moved to Canada. You know, you might have had a British accent as a child, but then because you spent the next 30 years of your life in Canada, your accent might have changed to a Canadian accent because you spent so much time here, right? I think similarly, if you'd spent a huge amount of your life, let's say in England, like 30 years in England, and then you move to Canada, you're probably going to keep your British base, but you might take on a couple of Canadian inflections in the way you speak. I've actually seen that happen. I knew a man here in Canada who grew up in England, spent all of his life in England, but then been in Calgary for about 10 years. And to me, he sounded British, but he would tell us that his family in England would tell him that he's got a couple of Canadian inflections in the way that he would speak. I think also similarly would be if you've grown up in a lot of different countries, you know, when you were getting older. I think that I've also seen people who have very unidentifiable accents when they speak their first language. Like they might be speaking English, but they have kind of a weird, unplaceable accent because they just grown up in so many different countries and been around so many different people. So that's kind of the exceptions for your first language. But again, generally speaking, in your first language, your accent is your accent. When it comes to a foreign language, it is very similar. Let's say you were learning Spanish and you were always around Mexicans. You're probably going to have some kind of Mexican accent. You're going to have Mexican tendencies in the way that you speak. And it's going to be difficult for you to change that. However, I will say this, if you've been around, it's kind of similar to your first language now that I'm talking this out. When you're learning a foreign language and let's say you've been around people from lots of different countries in that language, you might have a bit of an unidentifiable or unplaceable accent only because you've heard people from all around the world or lots of different countries, right? The big difference, I would say, in my opinion, when it comes to a foreign language is the following. You know, number one, because it's a foreign language, it has a lot of foreign sounds. And so it is very challenging if you have, like, let's say an English accent in Spanish or a French accent in English or etc. It can be very challenging to get rid of that accent and to sound like you come from one specific country. Most people really struggle with that. So that is one thing that is very different when it comes to foreign languages. Also, what is different with foreign languages is some people are very susceptible and very easily influenced by the people they are surrounded by. So for example, myself, when I'm learning a language, I am very affected. Oh, someone's calling me on Skype. I am very affected. Let's move. Someone's calling me on Skype. Let's move, let's move, let's move. But I am very affected by the people who are surrounding me, right? So if I'm in Chile, I'm gonna be affected by that Chilean accent. Like it's just how my body works. So for me, it's actually funny when it comes to language, my accent can change pretty rapidly if I'm surrounded by people from a specific region, specific country, etc., right? So yeah, I think we'll end things off there. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, talk to you guys later. Bye for now.